Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Sighted. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I'm back for another hardware review video. This time we're actually taking a look at a Windows tablet. We are taking a look at the Microsoft Surface Go. This is a 10-inch full Windows 10 tablet. You can run your Windows 10 apps, but you can also run your native Windows applications. I have NVDA, I have the full version of Office on here, all of that kind of stuff. So, before we go any further, I do want to give you guys a little disclaimer at the front of the video here. This product, I did not actually pay for this Surface Go. Microsoft was generous enough to provide me with this device. For the past, year or so, I've actually been a part of the Microsoft Low Vision Advisory Board. And it's basically a group of people, like I said, we kind of work on, we test Windows features, try to, look at early things and give feedback on how to improve different aspects of accessibility for blind and low vision users. So things like narrator, color contrast, color filters, magnifier, all that kind of stuff. And as part of being a part of this low vision advisory board, Microsoft has provided me with this Surface Go tablet. So I basically I don't have to use a primary device. I can have this as a secondary tool so that I am able to, I have this on the fast ring of the Insider build for Windows. And so I'm able to do my testing and reporting and all the participation in that group. So that's all I'm really at liberty to say about the accessory or the accessibility low vision advisory board. I'm under NDA for a lot of the stuff in there, but just as a disclaimer, I was provided this as for participation in that group. So that being said, let's move on to the actual review of this thing, as you get a wonderful glimpse of all my fingerprints on the screen so far. Sorry about that. But yeah, this is a 10-inch tablet. The Surface Go is basically Microsoft's entry-level Surface. We've had the Surface Pro in various iterations. This is your 10-inch entry-level Surface Go. Now, the specs inside, you have your 10-inch screen, you have 64 gigabytes of internal memory for hard drive. You have, and this is eMMC storage. It's not true solid state. eMMC is basically a slower version of that, kind of a solid state, kind of a storage. So it is a little bit slower. There is only 4 gigabytes of RAM in this model. Now they do have a version of this, I believe it's like $100 more or something like that, and you get, I believe it's 128 storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM. If you are considering the Surface Go, you want something this size, I would probably recommend, especially if you're using any level of assistive technology on top of Windows itself, I would recommend going with a machine that has 8 gigabytes of RAM, if you can afford it, versus 4. Because, 4 works, and surprisingly, once you get going, this thing does work pretty well. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, 4 gigs of RAM, eMMC storage. It's a little bit slower. It's not going to be, the fastest thing around. It has a Pentium. I forget what the exact speed is, but it's basically this Pentium mobile chip, which is, it's a little less than your Core i7, Core i5, Core i3 even. So, again, it's meant to be an entry-level Windows laptop. Let's say somebody just wants to be able to, I want to check my email. I want to be able to surf the internet, maybe watch some videos, play some very, very light games. Nothing fancy, but you could do like some, basic 2D side scrollers or very simple, like indie games and stuff like that. You could probably do on here okay. But this isn't your your hardcore video editing, audio editing, gaming rig. You know, this is your secondary device. So it's built really well. It's kind of got this nice backing to it, this matte finish. This kind of, it's like a hard plastic, but it almost feels metal, or I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it feels quite good, actually. Feels very sturdy. Just like all the Surface devices, it has your little kickstand here, and it's nice and rigid here. So, you know, I can put it at any angle, and I can crank this sucker like way back here. If I want to make this thing tilted up just a little bit, or if I want it to be more like a laptop, I can sit it up kind of like this. So there's the back of it. Of course, you got your front screen here. On the top, if you have it in landscape here, you've got your power button and your volume buttons right up there. And that's pretty much it up there. You have on the side or the bottom, however you want to say it, you've got a headphone jack. You have a USB-C port, and you have a proprietary kind of a magnetic charging port. So let me actually show you the charging port really fast, or the charging cord, just so you can kind of see. Let me grab this so then I can get it out of the way. Let me find the other end. Come on. Okay, so let's do this. So got our cord here, or our little box, a little charging box. But the other end has this interesting little, it's just a really narrow little thing. You put it near that little strip and it just magnetically sucks it in there. It's kind of like the, I'd kind of compare it to like the magnetic connector of the MacBook laptops. It's sort of a similar concept. Like I can just go like this, see if I can do this one-handed, really nice and easy. I'm usually holding the Surface with my other hand. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so it just boom right in there, and there you go, you're charging. So you can either do that, or you can charge over USB-C, so you have that option. The other thing that it took me a minute to find is, let's see if I can tilt it a certain way here. So under the kickstand, you do have, right here, you have a space for a micro SD card. So, you know, you're getting this basic thing, you're like 64 gigs, that's barely enough for anything. And I would pretty much agree. You get Windows on there, you put 1 or 2 major programs on there, there's a lot of stuff. But just so happens, shortly after I did get this, I found a deal, heck of a deal actually. I bought 2 of them. I found a 400 gigabyte micro SD card for like 55, 57 bucks. I bought 2 of them, one for this thing and one for my Nintendo Switch. So now I have a nice big 400 gigabyte card in my Switch. I have almost 500 gigabytes of storage in this thing. Life is good, excellent. So I've got the storage thing taken care of. That's pretty much the inner, or like the hardware itself as far as the design goes. God, it literally, you can just see the you can just see the fingerprints and stuff on the screen. Now, Microsoft was also kind enough to provide me with one of the basic type covers. So this is your Surface Go type cover. Now, if you are familiar with the Surface Pros, you cannot use one of those type covers with the Surface Go. You have to get the one that is specifically designed for the Surface Go. Surface Pro ones will not work, but you do have your full keyboard here. You do have your trackpad. I've used both. It works. You see in the second key right there, you have the FN key. By default, your function key behaviors, your F1 through F12, are going to behave like your special buttons. So you have things like, of course, F4 is mute. So I was trying to use narrator, and I was trying to do like Alt F4, and I'm wondering, why the hell do I keep losing speech? So yeah, you have to either hold down the function key and then hit Alt F4, or on this particular iteration, all you have to do is tap the function key by itself, and if you have any vision, you'll see on the function key itself, you will see a light appear telling you that, hey, your function key is enabled. Now you can use your Alt Tab or your Alt F4, your, you know, whatever modifier F7, whatever you want to do with your screen reader or whatever. You can do all of that very easily. So I'm gonna, again, try to do this one-handed here. There we go. Again, it's just magnetic. This is not a Bluetooth keyboard. It literally has its own connector. It just basically magnetically kind of snaps in there. And boom, see? Ah, okay. No, hush. Yeah, we're gonna tell you to be quiet. So as far as the keyboard goes, it took me a little bit of getting used to. I mean, the keys themselves, it's a very light travel, but I still like them better than the new MacBook keyboards. I can't stand those for the most part. I really don't like typing on the new MacBook keyboards. Don't like it. Even though this has maybe a similar travel, it just feels a little bit better. For me, this being a 10-inch tablet, the main thing that I would say is that, you know, I've got pretty big hands. So I find that when I first started, I'm like, oh boy, this seems really cramped. This seems really kind of tiny. As I started typing though, as I kind of got accustomed to using it, I really didn't have too much of a problem. I kind of had to be careful if I was typing like the letter P or things up in here, or if I was going to go hit the backspace, I could accidentally hit a key, you know, next to it just because of the spacing. You know, my muscle memory wasn't quite there yet. But overall, once I used it for even just a few minutes, I really started to be able to type close to my normal speed that I would on a regular laptop keyboard. So the keyboard is actually pretty decent. It's kind of got this cloth. The rest of it's got this kind of cloth covering. The trackpad is good. I haven't had a problem with that so far. But yeah, I mean, the cramped, you know, a little bit cramped if you have large hands, but I think a lot of people will have no problem typing with this at all. So I do have the thing connected now. Going back to the hardware, before I talk about like performance and things, the one downside, you know, I mean, the thing is thick enough. I mean, it's not a super thin tablet. It's still got a little bit of thickness to it. I was kind of hoping maybe they would have at least one regular USB port or maybe an HDMI port in there. If you want any of that, you're going to have to get a Surface Hub or other third-party connector. I forgot the one that I bought at work. I picked up a little El Cheapo, and it basically, it's just a tiny little thing about from probably, I would say from about here to here. And, you know, it's a small little rectangular thing. It plugs into both the audio jack and your USB-C port, and it gives me an HDMI, a USB, and a headphone jack. So I do have that. So like if I wanted to plug in a thumb drive, or if I wanted to plug in a mouse, you know, a real mouse, or plug in any other accessory, unless it's USB-C or you get an adapter, you are not going to be able to do that. Of course, you can use Bluetooth devices because it is Windows, but, you know, with the thickness that it is, I kind of wish that they had maybe a way to put like a USB port or something on there. Even one would be helpful. So yeah, you can also get a stylus for it, but I don't have one. I think Windows is still not really a great operating system as far as stylus use goes, because some of the, even using like the touch, even using the touch screen here on the tablet, you know, some of your little regular Windows controls are still rather small. You know, I mean, buttons, okay, but like some of the tiny little maybe checkboxes or, you know, little links and things like that, some of those controls, radio buttons, can be really small, especially if they're cramped and close together. You know, Windows is not quite your like Android or iOS touch-friendly interface quite as much. It's still, I think, primarily a keyboard mouse driven interface. So that's kind of my overview of the physical attributes of the hardware. Now I have it all set up, and I'm gonna point this down just so it sees me. I'm gonna try to turn this on. Come on, see me. Come on, you know you wanna. Come on. Let's see what it does.
Windows.
Okay, so it eventually did. I don't know if it just took a while to wake up or something. I've had really mixed results with the Windows Hello, and that's basically where you not only put in your Microsoft ID, you know, your Microsoft ID and your password, you have to sign it a PIN, and then you basically have the camera, you train the camera to recognize your face, just like your Face ID for your iPhone. I think I actually have a little bit better luck with my phone. And I don't know if it's maybe, you know, just because maybe being low vision, maybe I don't quite have the distance down, or if I'm not looking exactly at it, I don't know if it uses eye gaze versus just simply looking at it. That could be an issue. Sometimes it unlocks really fast, and sometimes it works beautifully. Sometimes though, it does take a couple tries, or it's really slow, or I find myself, you know what, I'll just enter my PIN, boom, and we're good. So yeah, it does support the Windows Hello. It does have, I haven't tried it actually. There is a camera on the back, and I haven't tried with any Windows camera apps, so I can't really say anything about that. Even the front camera, other than logging in, you know, I don't do video chat. I don't do anything, you know, Skype video calls or anything like that. So, you know, the camera, I'm sure it works just fine. You know, when I did this Hello setup, I saw my face. Yeah, it looked like my face. It was good. But yeah, so I took this thing out of the box. I didn't have it hooked up to the keyboard right away. I did the initial setup just with the touchscreen just to see how it went. I was able to start Narrator, and using Narrator, I signed in with my Microsoft ID, and I went through the initial setup process. That worked perfectly fine. I was able to do it, you know, without any other aids or anything like that. So a blind person would be able to set this up themselves. And if you did actually just snap it into the type cover, it actually would have been an easier, faster experience using a physical keyboard. But either way, you can do it. Oh, okay. Well, I got a new email. Yay. Yay me. So I have Narrator running right now, and you know, I have the start menu here. Let's just open that up.
Search box, edit, type here to search. All apps, web, apps, 2 of documents, recently added, Microsoft, number sign, 3D viewer, 1 of cafe, group.
So it's responding pretty well.
Taskbar, pane.
Like I said, I do have
Start.
W.
Suggestions available. Word, app,
Okay.
switch preview.
So let's see how long it takes to run Word.
Pane.
There we go. It's thinking. Again, this isn't going to be your fastest thing, but it works. There's my backstage view.
Word window.
Boom. And I do have, like I said, I'm running the insider build of Windows, not just the latest spring update, but I'm actually running one build beyond that. So, you know, there's a bunch of good Narrator features. Narrator works with Chrome. I used Narrator to actually go download Chrome, and then I used Narrator to go download NVDA. So I have both Narrator and NVDA on here. Both work perfectly fine. Oh, and again, because I have my keyboard connected, you see, I don't know if you can tell, yeah, kind of. The function key has that light on there. So I should be able to Alt F4. Boom. Beautiful. So I've used this to surf the internet. I've used it to check my email. I've wrote some documents on it. I've done some just some insider testing. I've watched videos. I've listened to music on it. I haven't really played any games, haven't done anything with that on there because I don't really see myself hunching over. You know, I could install Steam and I could play some, like I said, some smaller indie games, or I could even play some old first-person shooters. I could play Doom on here. I could play, yeah, I mean, sure, I could absolutely do some of that. But this is mainly, for me, it's a work machine. I'm going to be using it for testing. I've used it at work for productivity a couple times, in a meeting, showing it to somebody, showing it to a client. But like I said, it's just, yeah, it's not super fast, but for what it is, it's actually a really nice, small, versatile tablet. And once you get through the initial kind of setup process, once you get through the initial downloads and things, the Windows updates, and then once the system boots up, it actually boots up pretty well. You know, it runs pretty reasonably. Like I said, I can run NVDA, I can run Narrator, and I've had several Chrome tabs open, I've had Word open, I've had the Mail app open, which, like I said, until fairly recently, I haven't even really bothered to really play with the Windows 10 Mail app, and I wish I would have done so sooner because it works really well, really well. If you guys don't have Office or not really interested in working with Outlook, you know, and you got Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook or whatever account you have, the built-in Windows Mail app actually works really well with a screen reader. I use it all the time now. So yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot else to say, but this is the Surface Go, the Microsoft Surface Go. I believe it starts around $399. You do have to buy a type cover separately. If you want a stylus, you'd have to get that separately as well. Like I said, I would probably spring for the one that's about 500 bucks if you are looking at that, just because if you want a Windows tablet like this, I would recommend, you know, especially if you're running assistive technology on top of everything that you're doing, having 8 versus 4 gigabytes of RAM does actually help. I do notice a little bit, especially even maybe with the eMMC memory, those two kind of combinations, you know, I would imagine that the next bump up is going to be a little bit better. But like I said, for what it for what it is, it's a very nice small 10-inch tablet. It's very portable, and instead of taking, even at work, instead of taking a different device, I found myself taking this to meetings a couple times. I found myself just using it for something where I didn't want to, you know, use a desktop computer, or I didn't want to go lug some heavier device, or like I said, everything's all connected. So if I want to use this more like a computer, I might take this instead of my iPad. So, you know, it does have some uses, and yeah, I'm kind of digging it so far. I've used Windows Magnifier with it, and it does, I suppose, let me see if I can, I could do the shortcut, but I'm trying to do all this one-handed. Hey, speaketh to me. Hey, come on. Why aren't you speaking to me?
Taskbar.
Yeah, so when I start Magnifier, you see on a touch screen, the way this works is I can pan by this little bar here. And again, it's a little hard for me to do this like one-handed and look through a phone. But I can zoom in and out, I can pan up and down. Basically, you're using the borders around the screen. Or again, since I have my type cover here, I can just use the mouse. So, and then the whole border things disappear. But if I were to touch the screen, boom, it comes back and says, oh, okay, you want to touch again. Okay, well, now we'll let you scroll. So, you know, it's versatile in that point. And so, yeah, using Narrator, using Magnifier, NVDA. I have not put JAWS on here, nor do I probably intend to put JAWS on here unless I really, really need to. But yeah, that is the quick look and just some overall impressions, some first thoughts of the Microsoft Surface Go. I'm kind of digging it. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on, oh, before I wrap up, I should also mention battery life. It's been pretty good. I've gotten, I would say several hours out of it, you know, doing a lot of work, you know, doing a lot of downloads and going on the internet, checking some email, maybe having some music on in the background. I've had it last pretty much all day at work, and even standby, it's lasted a good few days. So, you know, battery life is pretty solid. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, mixer.com/BGFH, or illegally-cited.com. And hope you guys again enjoyed the video. And until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.
Stop recording video.